Chapter 61 Yitsong and Che. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Che bailed out of the central building, ditching his transformation and leaping through a window to make his escape. He hit the ground running, scaling the outer wall of the fortress. Sand ninjas poured out after him, but a volley of explosive tag kunai planted in the wall sent them flying the second they went over. That bought Che enough time to vanish. By the time they recovered and got over the wall again, he was gone. Damn it! One of them yelled, pounding his fist. What's going on? A woman's voice cut through the air, making the ninja jump. Lord Yitsong. Someone broke into your office and got away. He stammered. Yitsong had just arrived at the fortress from the stronghold. Before she could even deal with the two rogue ninjas who'd been killed, she got the news that her office had been hit. What are you good for? She roared. Get in there and find out what's missing. I'll handle the chase. With that, Yitsong took off like a shot. The sand ninjas exchanged uneasy glances, then reluctantly obeyed, heading back inside to assess the damage. Yitsong, moving at incredible speed, soon picked up Che's trail in the distance. Before long, Che spotted her too. He recognized her from the photos in her office. Dark green hair pulled into a bun, orange bangs framing her face, and, well, she had a lot going on up top. Her outfit was skimpy, showing off a ton of pale skin. Her back was practically bare. Those distinctive features made her easy to ID. It was a classic chase scene. One running, one pursuing, they plunged deeper and deeper into the heart of Kawa, the landscape morphing into a dense jungle. The gap between them was closing fast, shrinking from half a mile to just a couple hundred yards. Che had been expecting a whole squad of pursuers, but now he realized Yitsong was running solo. What's she so confident about? That got him thinking, and an idea started to form. Behind him, Yitsong followed the trail of broken twigs and disturbed earth, finally catching sight of Che. Uchiha Che. I know it's you. Drop the intel, and I might let you live. Che finally stopped, bringing a smile to Yitsong's face as she quickly closed the distance. You think you know what's going on? Shink. Shink, star. Before she could finish the sentence, two shurikens whizzed past her cheeks, heading into the woods behind her. You little. Fine, you asked for it. Dodging the shurikens, Yitsong summoned 6 orange fireballs, each the size of a basketball and crackling with terrifying power. The combination of wind and fire chakra created an intense heat that could turn a person into dust in seconds. Is that burning release? Che wondered. He knew about Yitsong's reputation and her unique Kekii Genkai, which seemed even more intense than Terumi Mei's boiling or lava release. Then again, maybe it just came down to the user. Yitsong was already a known powerhouse, while Terumi Mei was still finding her feet. Yitsong guided the fireballs with precise control, forming a circle around Che. He countered with water release, water dragon bullet, simultaneously leaping back. The dragon surged from his mouth and slammed into the ring of fire, creating a cloud of hissing steam. The water dragon managed to block the scorching fireballs, but it was completely vaporized in the process. And the superheated steam itself was a deadly weapon. Seeing such a large-scale water attack, Yitsong realized Che was the real deal, a full-fledged jonin. She sobered up fast. An Uchiha with that level of water release? Ha! She'd only heard rumors of his fire release skills. Now, she was curious to see the full range of his abilities. Although the water dragon bullet temporarily held back the flames, it was soon gone, leaving the fireballs untouched. The burning release fireball sped after Che, forcing him to dodge and weave. Boom! One fireball hit the ground, exploding in a burst of heat and force. When the smoke cleared, the earth was cracked and parched, like it hadn't seen rain in a decade, but Che was too fast. The fireballs just couldn't catch up. Yitsong, kunai in hand, began to circle him, launching fireballs from different angles, but Che seemed to have eyes in the back of his head, deflecting her attacks and dodging the flames. Che, Yitsong, and the burning release fireballs became partners in a deadly dance, swirling through the dense forest. Bang, star. Che struck Yitsong in the chest with a palm. Amplified by his chakra, the blow packed a serious punch. Fortunately, her bountiful bosom provided a pretty good cushion, stopping her ribs from being shattered outright. The strike sent her flying. Another fireball exploded in the air, turning the ground into scorched earth. Che nimbly backflipped to avoid the blast, then glanced at his palm, almost nostalgically recalling the feel of her chest. Yi Tsang, blushing with fury, staggered back, clutching her chest with one hand while gathering the scattered fireballs into one massive sphere, 2 to 3 meters in diameter, as blindingly bright and hot as a mini-sun. Die! She unleashed the fireball. It expanded rapidly in the air, engulfing everything within a 50-meter radius. The ground was instantly scorched. Trees in the center were vaporized. Those at the edges were left as charred husks. The explosion left behind a wide clearing in the middle of the forest. As the smoke and dust settled, Yi Tsang watched, confident that Che had been reduced to ash. Then, 2 shurikens flew out of the clearing. She dodged without effort, but was shocked that Che was still alive. A cold prickling sensation ran down her bare arm. She looked down in surprise. The 2 shurikens were connected by nearly invisible wires. They looped back around, pulling taut, forming a grid that trapped her against a tree. The wires tightened, pinning her in place. Gritting her teeth, Yi Tsang raised her hand to summon a fireball, intending to burn through the restraints, but for some reason, the fireball slipped from her grasp and flew straight into Che's hand. A look of glee spread across his face. Tsang finally mastered this move again. He casually tossed the fireball to the ground, then approached Yi Tsang. I never intended to kill you. But you were trying pretty hard to kill me. Guess beauty really is skin deep. Chapter 62 The Deal Between Two People. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Yi Tsang struggled, the tough, thin threads biting into her pale flesh. She shot another fireball at Che, but he just raised a finger, freezing it in midair. A cheap trick. Che then casually knocked the fireball to the ground, walked up to Yi Tsang, grabbed her chin, and forced her to meet his gaze despite her resistance. Magical tree binding kill. Che's double Magatama Sharingan spun, projecting the illusion into Yi Tsang's mind, amplified by the Sharingan's power. This Sharingan-enhanced technique wasn't just visual, it affected touch, making escape nearly impossible. Yet, Yi Tsang kept twisting and struggling, her face reddening fast. Che looked confused. What? Is this not working? From Yi Tsang's perspective, the thin threads became thick, constricting vines. From the tree behind her, more vines snaked out, flexible and hungry. 2 of them, especially bold, groped at her chest, exploring her body. No wonder Yi Tsang's face flushed crimson. Bastard! Pervert! You creep! She finally cried out, her voice tight with anger. Che realized it wasn't that the technique wasn't working, it was working too well. He grinned, a devilish glint in his eyes. Don't get so worked up. I'm just supplying the illusion. What you see is up to you. The more you fear, the worse it gets. The more you think about it, the more vivid it becomes. Hearing this, Yi Tsang tried to calm herself, fighting to suppress the strange sensations invading her body and mind. Slowly, the red in her cheeks faded, and her eyes sharpened. Seeing Che rifling through the documents from her office, she started to struggle again. Don't move unless you want another taste of what you just felt, Che warned. He glanced up and saw the fear in her eyes. She froze. What do you want? She demanded. Che answered calmly, I don't want anything. Like I said, I never intended to hurt you. But now, I have an idea. We can make a deal. He held up the documents he'd been reading. While I was searching for info, I found your diary. Yi Tsang's eyes widened. Her diary. That was private. The 3rd Kazekage vanished, and Raza got appointed acting Kazekage. You're not happy about it, are you? You think the job should be yours. Raza's afraid of you. He sent you out of the village to build a stronghold in the land of rivers to cement his power base in the village and get ready to officially become the 4th Kazekage. TSK. Seems like there's a rift between you and the village. Che shook his head, feigning pity. Yi Tsang sneered. Trying to drive a wedge between me and my village? Give it up. Che smiled faintly. Just hear me out. I can give all these documents back to you. I've already memorized everything in them anyway. That way, you won't get in trouble with the village for losing classified information. Yi-tsang was clearly tempted, but she asked cautiously, "What's your price?" "I want you." Che's words were a bombshell. Yi-tsang seemed to have jumped to conclusions. "Don't get any ideas. I'm not interested in a woman old enough to be my mom. I need your strength." Yi-tsang bristled. "You bastard. Stop trying to recruit me." Ignoring her outburst, Che laid out his terms. "If Raza kicks the bucket on the battlefield one day, you could become Kazekage. If that happens, I want your help. Of course, that might seem a little unfair, so I can offer you a favor in return, to be called in the future. Who knows, maybe I'll even help you off Raza myself." Yi-tsang considered the offer, weighing the pros and cons, a hesitant expression on her face. Che pressed his advantage, his voice smooth and persuasive. "I won't force you to do anything that hurts your village. It's just a promise. What's the harm in agreeing?" Yi-tsang lifted her chin, her voice firm. "You have to guarantee that the help you ask for won't hurt Sunagakure." Che raised a hand. "I swear, the help I ask for will never harm Sunagakure." Yi-tsang added, "I won't use this favor to make you kill Raza. His survival is beneficial for the village." Che clicked his tongue and shook his head. "You're so selfless, but Raza might not appreciate it." Yi-tsang glared at him, and Che relented. Fine. I won't kill Raza because of this promise. But if I run into him on the battlefield, all bets are off." Yi-tsang finally relented. "Give me the documents, and I promise we can call on each other for a favor in the future. A favor that won't harm the interests of our respective villages." Che grinned. "Pleasure doing business with you." He reached out to untie her, then paused, as if struck by a sudden thought. Che's hand stopped in mid-air, making Yi-tsang suspicious. Had he changed his mind? "One more tiny deal. You can't tell anyone about the techniques I just used." Che added. Yi-tsang glanced down at the half-grown boy in front of her, a trace of contempt in her eyes. "You mean the weird attraction and the thing that froze my fireball?" "Why?" Che craned his neck up and tried to ignore the fact that he was staring at her chest. "You did feel pleasure in the illusion, didn't you?" TSK. The great and powerful Sunagakure escaper, Yi-tsang, actually got off on the enemy's illusion. "Lord Yakura, you wouldn't want the other Suna ninjas to find out about that, would you? What would they think of you? And what about your lovely apprentice?" Che's words had hit a nerve. He'd learned from the diary that Yi-tsang was fiercely proud and deeply attached to her student. Yi-tsang gritted her teeth, glaring at Che. "Shameless." Che waved a dismissive hand. "I think that's the 800th time you've called me that today." After a moment, Yi-tsang sighed angrily and agreed. "I promise." "Done." Che smiled, finally untying her. Yi-tsang stretched, her eyes still burning into Che. If looks could kill, he'd be a corpse 1,000 times over. Che turned serious. "Someone's coming. Play along." He moved behind Yi-tsang and pressed a kunai to her neck. "Shameless." Yi-tsang blushed and spat the word again. Che realized his hand was pressed against her chest. Why is this still happening today? Che thought. "Bend down a little." "I'm not tall enough," he muttered. Yi-tsang reluctantly complied, which meant her bare back was pressed against Che. No matter how they adjusted, it was awkward. Just then, the group Che had mentioned arrived. Lord Yakura. Chapter 63 Reporting Task. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I spotted a group of sand ninja heading west and quickly surrounding Che. Che yelled, "Tell your guys to back off." Then, Che's kunai drew a bloody scratch on Yi-tsang's neck. Yi-tsang, playing along, immediately shouted, "Fall back." The sand ninja exchanged glances, but unwilling to disobey Yi-tsang, they retreated. A tense standoff ensued. Che whispered, "Almost there. Remember our deal." As if he'd been waiting for this, Yi-tsang ripped Che's hand away and slammed an elbow into his back. while he didn't connect perfectly, he forced Che back, scattering the intelligence documents in Che's arms across the ground. Yitsang whirled around, unleashing a scorching fireball to drive Che back completely. Lord Yakura, the sand ninja rushed to Yitsang's side, concerned about his condition. Yitsang raised a hand slightly, signaling he was okay. Just then, a group of people appeared behind Che. Captain Che. Baiyun Yeshan shouted. Che also recognized the voices of Gu Jie and Mat Dai. Looking back, Che saw Shirayan Hayama, Maruhoshi Kosuka, and Mat Dai charging forward, followed by a large group of Tanigakure ninja, including Hiroshi Hasegawa. Baiyun Yeshan quickly reached Che's side, exclaiming, "Great, Captain. You're all right." Kosuka, Maruhoshi and Mat Dai also arrived, taking up defensive positions. Amidst the confrontation, Hiroshi Hasegawa, looking distressed, stepped between the two groups, pleading, "Come on, you two. Let's end this here. Why don't we all just take a step back and call it even?" Yitsang had his men retrieve the intelligence documents, then pointed at Che and spat, "This bastard stole Sunegakure's classified documents. If I hadn't risked my neck to get them back, they would have fallen into Konoha's hands. You expect us to just let this go? No way." Che stood his ground, retorting, "You're the ones hiding rogue ninja. Chief Hasegawa, you know those rogue ninja from your village were holed up in Sunegakure territory." Hiroshi Hasegawa meekly begged Che to stop talking. Che was a Konoha ninja and could clash with Sunegakure, but Hiroshi Hasegawa didn't dare. Alright, you got your intel back. We'll also take care of the rogue ninja. I won't argue with you, Che said, feigning anger. Then, he waved his hand and turned to leave. Gu Jia and the other three followed. Seeing this, Yitsang and the sand ninja also departed. Hiroshi Hasegawa let out a long sigh of relief, like he'd just dodged a bullet. Once they were a safe distance away, Baiyun Yeshan leaned in and asked, "Captain, mission accomplished?" Che grinned and said, "I gave them the intelligence documents back on purpose. I already memorized the contents." Baiyun Yeshan gave a thumbs up, impressed. "You're a genius, Captain." A happy smile spread across Maruhoshi Kosuka's face, and Mat Dai also admired Che. They had all thought Che was finished for, but he'd somehow pulled it off and completed the mission. To celebrate our first mission as a team of 4, let's hit up a barbecue joint when we get back to the village, Che suggested. They all agreed. After all, even if they weren't in the mood for barbecue, they still had to show respect to Che, the hero of the hour. Konoha Hidden Village, Hokage's office. Uchiha Che, Maruhoshi Kosuka, Shirayan Hayama, and Mat Dai were giving their mission report. So, Sunegakure is gearing up to invade Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned, pipe in mouth, tapping his fingers rhythmically on the table as he pondered. Hiruzen Sarutobi exhaled smoke and said, "Then we'll have to prepare our defenses." Bang! With a crash, the office door was flung open, slamming against the wall. A black-haired man in a black robe, with white bandages covering his right eye and right hand, and a cross-shaped scar on his chin, stormed in. "Sarutobi, you're too soft. Knowing that Sunegakure plans to invade, why not strike first?" Che turned slightly, assessing this man who was so rude to the Hokage, a little weaker than Hiruzen Sarutobi, but still Kage level. Che's 6 eyes provided the intel instantly. Sarutobi Hiruzen showed his displeasure. Konoha doesn't start wars lightly. We've always valued peace. Even if Sunegakure is planning an attack, we shouldn't be the aggressors. Besides war, we can respond with active defense and diplomatic pressure. Sarutobi Hiruzen was cut off by Danzo. "Sarutobi, you'll regret this." Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned. "Danzo, I'm the Hokage." Danzo scoffed, turned, and stalked out of the Hokage's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen, a bit embarrassed, said to Che and the others, "Sorry about that. The mission's done, good work. You're dismissed." The 4 of them obediently left the room, closing the door behind them. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed, smoking his pipe in the office, filling the room with smoke. Che and the others headed to the barbecue restaurant and ordered their food. While waiting, Che broke the silence. "Who was that back there?" The most experienced Maruhoshi Kosuke replied, "That's the Hokage's assistant, Lord Shimura Danzo. He's in charge of Konoha's ANBU training division. He and Lord Hokage have been friends since the Ninja Academy, so he can be a bit forward." Che nodded, but his mind was racing, even for a friend, that's too overbearing. Sarutobi Hiruzen lets Danzo get away with too much. There are only two possibilities, either they have something on each other, or Hiruzen Sarutobi needs Danzo alive for some reason, without either of those factors, Che couldn't believe a leader would allow someone to undermine their authority, at least, not a competent one, because a leader's first duty is to maintain control, and authority is the foundation of control. As the Hokage who's ruled Konoha for decades, Sarutobi Hiruzen must be competent. Under normal circumstances, this situation wouldn't happen. Che was lost in thought, but when the barbecue arrived, he put aside all his worries and focused on enjoying the food. After the meal, the temporary Che team split up and went their separate ways. Shirakumo Hayama was thrilled to have an S-rank mission on his record, while Maruhoshi Kosuke felt good about contributing to Konoha, even as a genin. Matt Dai was counting his earnings from the S-class mission, thinking about how to decorate his home and what kind of meat he should buy to treat himself. Che was still thinking about what he'd just seen and heard in the Hokage's office. Che was thinking about Danzo Shimura and was disgusted by Hiruzen Sarutobi's weak attitude. Maybe I'd have a better shot joining Danzo Shimura. The thought flickered in Che's mind for less than a second before he dismissed it. Shimura Danzo's power and status aren't as good as Sarutobi Hiruzen, so Che's status wouldn't be any higher if he followed him. It's just that Sarutobi Hiruzen seems unreliable at the moment. Guess I'll have to rely on myself after all. Che sighed inwardly. Just then, a ninja in a black cloak and mask blocked Che's path. Uchiha Che, Danzo-sama summons you. Chapter 64 Danzo's Recruitment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Che looked up and, thanks to his sixth-eye vision, could clearly see the massive amount of refined chakra flowing within the masked figure. Insects? Must be from the Aburame clan. Back in the Ninja Academy, Che had met his fair share of Aburame classmates. They were known for hosting special, chakra-infused bugs within their bodies, bugs that fed on their chakra and aided them in battle. The Aburame were a well-off clan in Konoha, famous throughout the ninja world for their mastery of insect control. Danzo-sama has summoned you. Please come with me, the masked Aburame repeated. Che scrutinized the masked man's face. He could tell, even through the mask, that his tongue seemed to be under some sort of restriction. Considering the masked man's position and Che's observations of Danzo's dealings, it wasn't hard to deduce that the restriction was a failsafe to prevent him from leaking secrets. Who are you? Che asked. The masked man removed his mask, revealing a face framed by sunglasses. A purple mark was tattooed on the right side of his lip. Expressionlessly, he stated, Aburame Ryoma, a member of Root. Root? That's the ANBU training division, right? Che mused. Aburame Ryoma replaced his mask and, in a monotonous tone, said, Danzo-sama requests your presence at Root headquarters. Are all Root members this robotic? Che wondered, while outwardly replying, all right, lead the way. The Root organization's headquarters were deep underground. The ANBU training facility above ground provided direct access to a massive space, hundreds of feet below the surface, hidden this deep. Guess that fits the Root name. The Root organization base, like the roots of a tree, burrowed deep beneath the surface, hidden in the shadow of the Konoha tree. The entire base was constructed from solid, reinforced concrete. Buried this deep, it seemed likely that even the destruction of Konoha wouldn't affect it. The sheer depth and area of the Root base were massive, with each level connected by wooden bridges. The clearly defined levels seemed to symbolize the organization's rigid hierarchy. Aburame Ryoma led Che to the deepest part of the base and knocked on the door of Danzo Shimura's office. Lord Danzo, we've arrived. Enter, Danzo's voice replied from within. Aburame Ryoma opened the door. Danzo Shimura sat behind his desk, hands clasped, his sharp eyes fixed on Che. Ryoma, you may leave us. Aburame Ryoma obeyed and closed the door behind him. Lord Danzo, Che said, bowing slightly with proper respect. Danzo studied Che intently, his gaze piercing. You acquired information that Sunagakure is preparing to invade Konoha. What are your thoughts on this? Che paused briefly. I think Konoha should take retaliatory measures. At the very least, we should fortify the land of Kawa in preparation for war. Or even launch a preemptive strike and drive the Sunagakure ninjas out of Kawa country. Danzo's gaze softened slightly. So, you do have some fire in you. Are you aware of Sarutobi Hiruzen's response? Che was used to Danzo referring to the Hokage by his given name. I don't. His active defense amounts to sending a few extra patrol squads to the Land of Fire's western border. And his so-called diplomatic condemnation is just sending people to Sunagakure for peace talks. How can such weakness lead Konoha to victory? Danzo slammed his hand on the table, causing cracks to spiderweb across its surface. Che said nothing, though he was disappointed. Konoha may be the strongest village, but with such a weak Hokage, it was likely to decline. Maybe the next Hokage will be stronger. He thought. Danzo's anger subsided. Calming himself, he changed the subject. It seems you and I think alike. You should join Root. It wasn't a request, but an order. You're an Uchiha. Normally, if you want a position in Konoha's official departments, you'd be limited to the Konoha military police force, which your clan oversees. You wouldn't gain any real experience there, just settle petty disputes within the village. It would be a waste of your talent. I can make an exception and recruit you into Root. Here, you'll gain ample experience. I can also offer you special treatment. You'll have access to all of Root's ninjutsu resources, and you can even influence the missions assigned to you. Danzo's offer was not without its merits, however. Che remained unmoved. First, he disliked Root's oppressive and gloomy atmosphere. It reminded him of the stuffy, bureaucratic systems of the magic world in his previous life. Furthermore, the curse mark on Aburame Ryoma reminded Che that despite Danzo's enticing words, he clearly distrusted his subordinates. Second, Che didn't need Root's ninjutsu resources. The Uchiha clan could provide all the resources he needed. Finally, Che knew that joining Root would mean being buried deep underground, never seeing the light of day. As a Root member, no matter how talented, you wouldn't be able to shine, and Che's ambition wouldn't allow him to accept such limitations. Thank you for your kind offer, Lord Danzo, but I'm not suited for the Root organization. Danzo's expression hardened. Are you defying me? Danzo's question was a threat, and at the same time, he began to build up his chakra. His high rank and power, comparable to the Hokage, were enough to intimidate most ninjas into submission, but Che was not most ninjas. He stood calmly before Danzo, already calculating his escape route. Seeing that neither recruitment nor intimidation had worked, Danzo prepared to take action. At that moment, a faint smile played on Che's lips. Guess I won't need to reveal my trump card. After all, Che was confident he could escape Danzo's grasp, but only if he used his full abilities. Danzo would definitely not let him go if he saw his true power. Che didn't want to make a deadly enemy of Danzo, a high-ranking Konoha official, at this point. Lord Danzo, you wouldn't harm my assistant, would you? A smooth, magnetic voice came from the doorway. Orochimaru pushed the door open. He wore a Jonin vest, his black hair cascading down his back. His eyes flickered towards Che before fixing on Danzo. Orochimaru, what do you want? Danzo demanded, his voice low. Orochimaru spread his hands in a gesture of innocence. I just want my assistant back. If you have nothing else for him, Lord Danzo, I'll be taking him. I have research to complete. Danzo glared at Orochimaru, his voice dripping with menace. All right. Fine. Orochimaru's lips curled into a smile. Turning around, he waved a hand. Farewell, Lord Danzo. Oh, and the research we're collaborating on is progressing nicely. It may take some time to produce results. Please be patient. Danzo watched Orochimaru and Che retreat, saying nothing. I can't afford to break with him yet. Swallowing his anger, Danzo relented. Chapter 65 Orthopedic Surgery. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Che followed Orochimaru, leaving the root organization's base. Thanks for saving me, Lord Orochimaru, Che said, trailing behind him. Orochimaru smirked. Just happened to be passing by. But I do need your help. Got some time today? Che hesitated, remembering his dinner plans with Hong. Still, it was only the afternoon. An afternoon should be enough. And after Orochimaru's help, he couldn't exactly say no. Yeah, sure. What do you need me to do? Che asked. Still working on the software transformation technique. I've made some headway, got it to the point where we can start in vivo experiments. Che was surprised. Some time was an understatement. Last he knew, the software modification technique was still months away from in vivo trials. He'd been gone on a short mission, and Orochimaru had already made it to the next stage. He must have been working like crazy. Orochimaru seemed to read his mind. I don't have the patience to slowly develop something like this. I sped things up. After this experiment, I plan to shift my focus to more advanced modification techniques. As they walked, Orochimaru filled Che in on the progress of the software transformation and his recent research ideas. He said Che was one of the few scientifically literate ninjas around, so he valued his input. They arrived at Orochimaru's research institute. On the operating table lay a naked young man, about Che's age, unconscious and tied down. I gave him a strong anesthetic beforehand, enough to knock him out for 24 hours, so no rush. Orochimaru handed Che a file. Read up on him. Then, Orochimaru went to change out of his jonin vest. Ken Meiching, 13 years old, Konoha Genin. The file was detailed, covering everything from Ken Meiching's personal info to body measurements taken with precision instruments. Orochimaru was nothing if not thorough. Whether it was the description in the file or what Che could see with his own eyes, Ken Meiching's talent was clearly lacking. That was probably why he'd agreed to be a human guinea pig for Orochimaru. As the first test subject for this ninjutsu research, Ken Meiching was in serious danger. Che figured Ken Meiching's reasons for participating weren't just about getting stronger. Orochimaru was a master of persuasion, too. As Che was thinking this, Orochimaru reappeared in a sterile surgical gown. Che, finished reading? The dressing room is to the right. Orochimaru wore a green medical mask and looked every bit the professional. Che snapped out of it, returned the file to the cabinet, and went to change into a surgical gown himself. It was a bit big on him, since Orochimaru was taller. Orochimaru glanced at Che with his golden, snake-like eyes, then calmly slipped on a pair of thin, white rubber gloves. Che did the same. Orochimaru began explaining the procedure. The transformation target for this experiment is primarily the limbs. Let's start with. Orochimaru's explanation was detailed, and Che listened closely. The reason for modifying the limbs was because they had the greatest impact on combat power. Plus, messing with the neck bones was too risky. According to Orochimaru's simulations, best-case scenario was paralysis. That was probably one reason Orochimaru was considering abandoning this line of research. Orochimaru finished explaining his ideas, and they exchanged a look. The surgery was on. Orochimaru took the lead, with Che assisting. The experimental process wasn't pretty. Ken Meiching was practically skinned alive, gutted, and his bones sucked dry. If it weren't for the anesthetic, he would have died from the pain 100 times over. After modifying the skeleton, Orochimaru skillfully sewed Ken Mizumi's skin back together and used Palm Sage technique to speed up cell regeneration. Ken Meiching's body was like a broken rag doll, stitched back together quickly and neatly. At the same time, Che injected a tube of flesh-shaping agent into Ken Meiching. Orochimaru carefully checked everything, confirming that Ken Mizumi's vitals were stable. The experiment was done. Now they just had to wait for him to wake up. Che set down his instruments with relief. Orochimaru handled the technical stuff, and Che was basically the manual labor. Orthopedic surgery was always a physical job, even for ninjas. And this wasn't your average orthopedic surgery. Orochimaru's golden eyes stared at Ken Meiching's body, without a trace of joy. Che understood. Even if Ken Maching successfully completed the transformation, he'd only be a genin with some unusual tricks. While he might surprise other genin in close combat, he'd have trouble with Chunin, let alone Jonin. The transformation wasn't perfect. Bones, for example, were a major weakness. The results of this experiment hardly seemed worth the effort. One of them was one of Konoha's legendary Sannin, and the other was one of Konoha's most promising young geniuses. Their reputations were starting to spread across different countries. Working this hard for a genin-level result seemed pointless, but that was how scientific research went sometimes. Not every effort was rewarded. Thanks for your help, Che. I'll take care of the rest. You can head back. There was a hint of exhaustion in Orochimaru's voice. Che nodded, went to the locker room to change, and left the institute. He saw the full moon rising in the sky, and something hit him. He ran to Hong's place. Phew. Che ran straight to Hong's door, out of breath, and was about to knock when the door opened. Hong, Che was about to apologize when Hong threw her arms around him. He instinctively opened his arms, letting her hug him tightly. Where were you this afternoon? I was worried sick. I heard you were taken by the ANBU. I thought. Hong's voice cracked. Che's blue eyes softened. He held her close, gently stroking her back. I'm sorry for making you worry, he whispered. Chapter 66 Woman's Joy and Uchiha's Fate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After waiting for Hong to calm down, Che whispered, Okay, I'm good. Let's go inside and talk. Hong nodded and let go of Che. Che went to the bathroom to wash up while Hong composed herself and wiped her tears. They then sat down at the dining table. I got called in by some people from Umbu training. Their boss liked my potential and wanted me to join, but I refused. Then Orochimaru dragged me into his lab to assist with surgeries. I've been swamped ever since. Che briefly explained what had happened since lunch. Hong finally relaxed. Oh, that's what it was. I was worried sick for nothing. Che smiled, glanced at the big bowl on the table, and changed the subject. Udon noodles tonight? I'm starving. Let's see if your cooking's improved. Che reached for his chopsticks, but Hong grabbed the bowl. They're cold. I'll heat them up. Che gently took her wrist. It's okay. As long as you made them, I don't care if they're cold. Hong froze, then blushed and pulled her hand away. Seriously, where'd you learn lines like that? Hong looked away, flustered, and changed the subject. It's all your fault, anyway. You knew you'd be busy at the lab, and you didn't even say anything. Che took a sip of noodles, looked up, swallowed, and said, Hey, don't blame me. Blame Orochimaru. He rushed me off to the lab without even giving me a heads up. Humph, I'm not about to blame Lord Orochimaru. He's one of the Sannin, I can't afford to offend him, Hong said teasingly. Che raised his eyebrows. Oh, but you can offend me. I might surpass the Sannin one day. Why wouldn't I? You just come here every day to freeload, Hong retorted, pouting. Che shook his head and chuckled, then went back to eating. Hey, it's been a while since we did a mission together, right? Che asked casually. 67 days. Hong blurted out the exact number. The implication hung in the air. A moment of silence fell between them. Perfect. I should have some downtime coming up. Let's go on a mission tomorrow. Just the two of us, Che suggested, referring to Nara Shikaku and Sarutobi Asuma with the just the two of us. Hong's ruby eyes darted around. She was tempted, but hesitated. You don't have to go out of your way for me. I'm not, Che said with a smile. I'm wiped out. I just want an easy mission. Then I can take a vacation right after. Hong perked up. Che calmly continued eating his noodles. Seeing Che happily eating cold noodles, Hong volunteered, We have some beef. I'll throw some in the oven. You can't just eat cold noodles for dinner. Che nodded slightly, and Hong headed to the kitchen. Che smiled to himself. Turns out Shikaku's right. If you want the good life, you gotta know how to sweet-talk the ladies. With Hong successfully appeased, Che enjoyed his favorite sugar-dipped barbecue after the udon noodles. Finally, he left Hong's place, satisfied. Back at the Uchiha compound, he reached his front door. A black crow stood on the courtyard wall, blending into the night. Well, look who it is again. Che recognized the crow from his shadow jutsu experiments. Song star, a blue light appeared in Che's hand, drawing the crow to him despite its flapping wings. Che gently stroked the top of its head, and the crow calmed down instantly. Looks like we're destined. How about becoming my summon? But with that, Che released the crow, letting it fly free. The crow circled his head a few times, then landed on Che's shoulder. Caw, caw. The crow squawked loudly on Che's shoulder and then flew away, seemingly waiting for Che to follow. Che followed without hesitation. The crow symbolized wisdom and courage in Japan and the land of fire. It was an auspicious bird. Che also remembered the habits of crows from hunting in his previous life. Their intelligence often surpassed human imagination. He believed the crow's behavior had a deeper meaning. The crow led Che to an unnamed cliff at the edge of Konoha late that night, a dense forest behind it and a babbling stream in front. Che crossed the stream and reached the bottom of the cliff, immediately surrounded by a large group of crows. They swirled above him, forming a dark cloud. The original crow flew down and guided Che to a cave beneath the cliff. Inside, Che found a massive scroll. Che knelt and unrolled it. Rows of names were written in blood from right to left, all Uchiha. At the top, barely legible, was the title, Yatagarasu Summoning Contract Scroll. The last name was Uchiha Kagami. Che recalled Fugaku mentioning Kagami as a close aide to the second Hokage. Below his name was a line of writing in the same hand, changed the fate of Uchiha. Kagami had written it after signing his name in blood. The fragmented sentence left its meaning ambiguous. Was he urging himself to change the Uchiha's fate, or warning future generations? Che bit his finger and wrote his name, Uchiha Che, on the scroll in blood. He added 2 words below, I can. Taken with Kagami's words, it read, I can change the fate of Uchiha. Che carefully rolled up the scroll and returned it to its place, leaving it for the next person. He stood and felt the blood connection between himself and the crows outside. This is the summoning contract. Che walked out, and the crows instantly lined up before him. The first crow flew to Che, who extended his arm. It landed on his forearm, and Che held it up. I'll give you a name. How about Sanwei? Che picked a name at random. Sanwei cawed loudly in agreement. Che stretched his forearm forward, releasing Sanwei. I'm going to sleep. I'm not a night owl like you. See ya. As Che left, the crows scattered into the forest. Chapter 67 Tang Yen Ninja Tai. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day at the Konoha mission board, Che and Hong arrived to pick their assignment. Chunin Uchiha Che, Chunin Yuhihi Kurenai, what mission level are you looking for? A staff member asked after verifying their ninja IDs. They'd already discussed it. C rank, Che replied, preferably an escort mission to another country. The staff member nodded, sorted through the options, and presented them with several possibilities. Che glanced over the choices with Hong. Hong pointed to one of the commissions. How about this one? Escorting a caravan to the Land of You. Land of You, escorting a caravan, sounds good. Che agreed. The Land of You was a friendly neighbor, always at peace with the Land of Fire. It was known for its beautiful scenery and thriving tourism, perfect for a mini vacation. Hong smiled. I hear the hot springs there are amazing for your skin and health. Che chuckled, returning the unused mission requests to the staff. After completing the registration, he rejoined Hong. You're beautiful enough already. Leave some for the rest of us. They left, chatting and laughing. The staff member commented, so smooth for being so young. No wonder he's taking his girlfriend on a little honeymoon. Che led Hong to the caravan's hotel to meet their client, a merchant from the hot spring town in the Land of You who made a living trading between the two countries. The caravan was small, less than 10 people including Che and Hong. They set out that afternoon without incident. Once, some thieves tried to ambush them in the woods, but Che nailed one to a tree with a kunai. scaring the rest away. It was all within the scope of a C-rank mission. After all, you couldn't expect every C-rank job to suddenly turn into an S-rank threat. The journey took over a month, slowed by the pace of the ordinary travelers. Finally, they reached the land of Yu. Luckily, the hot spring town wasn't far from the border. They arrived shortly after entering the country. Mission accomplished. Of course, Che and Hong weren't heading straight back to Konoha. They were already here. A few days in the hot springs were a must. Their client even gave them 2 complimentary hot spring passes as thanks, but it was still early, so they decided to explore. Welcome. Try the Inumanta hot springs. Forget dogs. Welcome to Cat Cookie Hot Springs. The hot spring shops on either side of the street were dramatically different, their shouts reflecting the rivalry. One side had a carved dog's head on its sign, the other cat ears. The clerks wore dog and cat masks, respectively. A clear white line divided the street, splitting the town into 2 halves, Team Dog and Team Cat. Hong, are you a cat person or a dog person? Che asked casually. Hong considered it. Hard to say, I like them both. But if I had to pick, I'd go with cats. Che nodded. Same here. Cats are quieter. Besides, we don't exactly need a dog for hunting or guarding the house. But Kakashi's gotta be a dog person, Che thought to himself. Hong scoffed. What ninja needs a dog for hunting or guarding? Right, Che chuckled. Then, a thought struck him. He turned to Hong. If you like cats, I know a place we can visit before we head back. Hong's eyes lit up. Where? Che grinned mysteriously. You'll see. Hong rolled her eyes, but her attention was quickly drawn elsewhere. Che, look at that. She pointed to a shop overflowing with colorful kimonos and yukatas. Che remembered their previous shopping trips. She loved these kinds of stores. Let's go, he said, playing it cool. We need to change into normal clothes anyway. Standing out isn't exactly a good idea. Hong nodded happily, practically skipping as she hummed a little tune. What followed was an hour of "Does this look good?" Yes. Which looks better? They both look great. Che bought a blue and white sky pattern kimono and a simple white yukata. Hong carefully chose a red kimono with elaborate embroidery and a red and black yukata. They walked out of the store wearing their kimonos, looking like a couple out of a painting. Hong stared, mesmerized by Che in his sky pattern kimono. Che waved a hand in front of her eyes. Let's go book a room at the hotel. He turned to leave. Hong blushed. I want to book 2 rooms. Okay, Che drawled, turning back to look at her with his blue eyes. Let's go. Hong responded softly and followed. They booked a hotel, grabbed dinner, and prepared for the evening's main event, hot spring bathing. You couldn't visit hot spring town and not soak. They avoided the crowded springs in the center of town, opting for a secluded one on the edge of the village. It was small, about the size of a bedroom, surrounded by a stone wall and dense jungle, giving it a natural, private feel. Steam rose from the water. Che was alone in the bath. He stepped onto the stone slab, untied his belt, and let his loose white yukata fall to his feet. He eased himself into the warm water, sinking until he was submerged up to his neck, his hands resting on the edge of the pool, back against the stone wall. He looked up at the night sky, completely relaxed. Though, this is the first time I've been in a hot spring alone. I'm used to being served by maids. He remembered being pampered by maids during hot springs in his previous life. After all, he was the head of the Gojo clan, but he didn't dwell on it. He missed his past life, but knew he couldn't go back, at least not yet. I wonder what's become of that world. The warmth enveloped him, erasing his stress. Suddenly, he tensed, causing a splash. His eyes snapped towards the wall separating the men's and women's baths, where he sensed someone approaching the hot spring. Hong. Chapter 68 Evil God Cult. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Che bolted from the hot spring, stood there naked in the mist, grabbed his yukata, threw it on, and was about to hop over the wall to the women's side. The men's and women's hot springs were set apart, maybe for modesty, or maybe they were just 2 separate springs to begin with. but Che's senses easily covered the distance. Just then, he felt a dark presence closing in on Hong's location. He scrambled over the wall, not even bothering to tie his yukata, barefoot, his yukata flapping behind him. He looked like a bird gliding under the moonlight, but then, he slowed down, remembering he was out in public, and tied his belt. Being barefoot was fine. The soles of his feet felt no boundaries. He might seem to be walking on the ground, but he couldn't even crush an ant if he tried. Reaching the women's spring, Che scaled the wall and dropped in. He saw Hong, in her yukata, standing at the edge of the bath, facing a motionless man in a black robe. Two shaken-up girls in yukatas huddled in a corner, clearly terrified. "Everything okay, Hong?" Che asked, playing dumb. He knew Hong had already taken down the guy. This dude, while he had chakra, wasn't even up to the level of a regular Konoha genin. He was no match for Kurenai Yuhi, a seasoned Konoha chunin. Hong forced a smile and said she was fine, but a woman soaking in a hot spring must be pretty spooked when some creep barges in. The man in black was clearly under an illusion, frozen in place. Che stepped up, activated his second Sharingan, and layered another illusion on the guy. Hell vision technique. "No. Don't kill me. Master Evil God, save me." The man screamed like a stuck pig, as if he'd seen his worst nightmare. This illusion dredged up people's deepest fears. This guy was clearly afraid of death. Confronted with his fear and immobilized by Hong's tree binding, he was on the verge of passing out. Che eased up on the illusion, enough to keep him conscious, but still terrified. "Who are you? What are you doing here? Tell me everything, or you'll see something even worse." Che was intrigued by the evil god the man mentioned, sensing that this wasn't just some random pervert. I'm Baifu. I'm here to find sacrifices for the evil god. Beautiful girls make the best sacrifices." Hong and Che exchanged glances. They both realized this was bigger than they thought. "What is this evil god?" Che pressed. "Lord Evil God. He's the center of our evil god sect. The greatest god." Baifu got worked up just saying the name. "What are the teachings of the evil god sect?" Since it involved religion, Che wanted to know their doctrine. That's usually the easiest way to identify a religion. Even though he had a hunch from the name, Che was still taken aback when Baifu explained. "Kill. The evil god teaches us to kill everyone around us." Baifu practically screamed the evil doctrine. Hong frowned, surprised that what she thought was a peeping Tom was actually a murderous fanatic. "Red, what do you think?" Che asked. Hong replied, "This cult is too dangerous. If we leave it alone, it's going to cause real trouble." "Then let's shut it down," Che said confidently. "Do some good for the people." Hong asked, worried, "Is it dangerous?" "Don't worry, I'm strong," Che said gently, reassuring her. For some reason, Hong always trusted Che. She nodded without thinking. Che went back to getting information on the evil god cult. "Where's your headquarters? How many ninja do you have? What are your methods?" "No. I can't tell you. The leader will punish me." Baifu stammered, refusing. Che smiled and cranked up the illusion. "Ah. I don't know. I don't know where the headquarters is. I'm blindfolded every time and led there by the higher-ups." Che amped up the illusion again. "Ah. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Even though I'm blindfolded, I can hear the waterfall near the end of the trip. There's an echo. It must be a cave." Che pushed for details. "How far?" "About an hour's walk." Che noted the information and asked, "How many members?" "What are your methods?" Baifu said fearfully, "There are over 50 regular believers like me, 6 officers, and the leader. The believers are all about the same as me, some are weaker. I don't know the strength of the officers and leader, but they once kidnapped a Jonin from Tangin village to sacrifice to the evil god. They use a spell using blood as the medium." "Spell?" Che repeated, surprised. Baifu flinched and shouted in panic, "Yes. A spell." Che got the gist of it. He then maxed out the illusion to scare Baifu witless, and used the gentle fist technique to block his chakra points. Che turned to Hong and said, "I should go alone this time. If what he said is true, this could be dangerous." But Hong insisted, "As a ninja, what mission isn't dangerous? I'll protect myself. At worst, I can handle the regular believers." Seeing her determination, Che just said, "Okay, let's go together." Che needed to go, whether to protect the innocent or to learn about this spell. He had to check out the evil god cult's headquarters. Hong went over to comfort the two girls they'd interrupted. "You two are okay. We're ninja from Konoha. We just caught a bad guy from the evil god sect. Report it to the authorities and they'll take care of him." The two girls nodded, wrapped themselves in their bathrobes, and ran off. Che ripped a curtain from the hot spring and twisted it into a rope, tying Baifu securely to a post. Then, Che bit his finger, made a hand sign, and summoned a flock of crows. "Sanwei, lead them to a cave near a waterfall, an hour's walk from here," Che explained. "Caw. Caw." Sanwei squawked loudly, then the crows scattered in search. Che turned to Hong, "Let's go back to the hotel and get our gear." They returned to the hotel, changed into their ninja outfits, grabbed their equipment, and headed back to the hot spring. Chapter 69 Lord Evil God. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. A crowd was gathered around the gate by the hot spring. "Give me back my daughter. You'll get what's coming to you." The crowd was furious, with curses and cries filling the air. "Ha ha ha ha. They should be honored to be sacrificed to the evil god." Momofuku's voice cut through the noise. Che and Hong pushed their way through the crowd until they were face to face with Momofuku. "Still want a repeat of last time?" Che's cold tone shut Momofuku up fast. When the crowd saw the Leaf Village headbands on Che and Hong, they knew they were ninja. The two girls from earlier stepped forward. "These two saved us and caught the bad guys." An old man pushed through the crowd and grabbed Che's hands. "I'm the mayor of Hot Spring Town, and I want to thank you on behalf of everyone." Che nodded. "What's the deal with this evil god cult? Why are they targeting Hot Spring Town?" The mayor sighed, releasing Che's hand. "We don't know. We've always believed in local deities, cats, dogs, that sort of thing. Never heard of this evil god. As for why they picked Hot Spring Town, it's probably because it's a tourist spot. People come and go, so a few missing persons won't raise suspicion. It's not just tourists, though. Some of our own townspeople have gone missing too. Those bastards." Hong's eyes welled up seeing the mayor and the townspeople's distress. Che, noticing Hong's reaction, stepped closer to comfort her. Then he turned to the mayor. "I'll help you take down this cult." Just then, Three Tails swooped down from the sky, screeching. "You found the cave. Woof. Good. Red, let's go." Three Tails took the lead, and Che and Hong took off, leaving the townspeople behind. Momofuku spat out, "You'll all become sacrifices to the evil god. You son of a bitch." A man charged forward, punching Momofuku and knocking out a tooth. The villagers swarmed him, kicking and punching. The mayor watched without intervening. "Come back safe," the mayor whispered. Che and Hong headed into the jungle. Hong said, "If things get dangerous, just run, okay? Safety first." Che turned. "Don't worry. I don't go into battles I can't win." Guided by Three Tails, they reached the cave in minutes. Waterfalls and caves, this has to be it. Che let Three Tails land on his arm, stroked its head, then performed the summoning jutsu, sending the crows back to Konoha. The waterfall cascaded down, creating a warm mist as it hit the river below. Even the waterfalls here are hot springs. Che and Hong entered the cave, immediately smelling sulfur. The volcano that created Hot Spring Town must be nearby. The cave's entrance was well hidden by the mist. Inside, a long, narrow passage was lit by dim candles on carved platforms. This was the cult's hideout. Hong pulled out a kunai, staying close to Che. In the dark cave, only the kunai and Che offered any sense of security. they walked further and saw a light ahead. Che turned to signal Hong to be careful. Hong gave him a determined look in return. As they neared the exit, they heard voices. Why haven't today's sacrifices arrived? Isn't Momofuku supposed to be finding them? All the other recruiters are back, but he's MIA. Shoo, someone's coming. Kishida-sama. Everyone, assemble. Momofuku was captured in Hot Spring Town. Stay alert. Che and Hong burst in, catching the cultists off guard. They had just learned about Momofuku's capture and were still scrambling. The cave was huge, like a gymnasium. Che used his 6 eyes to instantly assess the number and strength of the cult members. 1 leader and 45 followers. The leader was between Genin and Chunin level. Half of the followers were civilians, and the other half were about as strong as Momofuku. Che wasn't worried. He decided to take out the leader first and charged towards Kishida. Kishida reacted quickly, drawing a black, telescoping iron drill that extended to over a meter long. This strange weapon was probably related to the cult's curses. Che closed the distance. Kishida smirked. Konoha ninja, prepare to die. He lunged with the iron pick, but it stopped mid-air. Kishida looked shocked, but it was the last expression he'd ever wear. Bang! Che punched him with chakra-enhanced strength, collapsing Kishida's chest. He flew through the air, crashing against the cave wall. Che didn't even glance at the body. Turning to Hong, she was surrounded, but she was holding her own. She used genjutsu to control 5 followers, and killed several more with shuriken. Now, she was fighting the remaining cultists with kunai. Clearly in control, Che joined the fight, and together they quickly took down the remaining followers without a scratch. Another passage led deeper into the cave. Che and Hong followed it to a stone door. Che told Hong to stand back, then made hand seals. Fire style, fireball jutsu. The huge, high-temperature fireball blasted through the tunnel, shattering the stone door. Che and Hong moved quickly through the tunnel into an even deeper cave. Before entering, Che smelled sulfur mixed with the metallic scent of blood. The cave was even larger than the first. A natural hot spring bubbled in the center, shallow enough to barely cover your ankles. A corpse was nailed to the ground in the center of the spring with iron rivets. A symbol, a circle around a triangle, was drawn on the ground around the body. Blood from the corpse dyed the water red, creating a gruesome scene. The corpse wore the same outfit as Kishida. Today is Lord Evil God's sacrifice day. This one and the captured trash failed their mission. So he became the sacrifice. A pale-faced man spoke, his voice cold and sinister. Chapter 70 Change of Destiny. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The man wore a windbreaker and leather pants, his shirt open to show off a chiseled 8-pack. His pale skin and fanatical expression gave him the look of a cultist. He'd been sitting on a throne in front of the cave, but now he leaped up, arms wide, and shouted in a mesmerizing voice. Loyal followers of the evil god. 2 filthy Konoha ninjas have trespassed on our sacred ground. What shall we do with them? The remaining believers and leaders of the evil god cult, gathered in the cave, responded instantly to his words. Kill! 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 For the evil god! For the leader! The believers raised their hands and shouted with fervor. The sound echoed through the cave, an endless stream of fanatical cries. Che ignored the lunatics, turning to Hong. 11 believers, 4 leaders. You take the believers, I'll handle the rest. Kurenai gripped her kunai tightly and nodded, her expression serious. She knew this was the final battle to crush the cult, no room for error. Before the believers could attack, a red kunai shot through the air, silencing one of their cries. The believers froze, turning their ferocious gaze on Yuhi Hong. Unafraid, Hong pulled out another kunai, assuming a defensive stance. The believers surged forward, rushing toward them. Che jumped, soaring over the crowd and heading straight for the leaders and their head honcho. He trusted Hong to handle the rabble. In the air, he spun with the grace of a diver. Whoosh, 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 star. Several shuriken streaked through the air, aimed at the 4 leaders. 2 were killed instantly. A 3rd leader caught a shuriken across the neck. Relieved, he didn't see the next one burying itself in the back of his neck. He collapsed into the hot spring. The 4th leader was the strongest, or maybe just luckiest. He dodged the first shuriken. Seeing the second one aimed at the other leader, he ducked, narrowly avoiding it. But his luck ran out. Che appeared in front of him and delivered the same punch he'd used in the previous cave. He died just like Kishida. Che shook his head. Based on their chakra signatures, he'd estimated their strength at Genin to Chunin level. But their performance was pathetic. Guess that's what happens when you skip Ninja Academy. With the small fries taken care of, Che turned his attention to the final boss of the evil god cult. Facing the deaths of his followers, the leader showed no sadness, no fear. Che asked, "Your subordinates are dead, and you're about to die. Aren't you scared?" "Scared?" The leader blinked, then burst into wild laughter, as if he'd heard the funniest joke ever. "Ha ha 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 ha. You don't get it. Killing and death are the goals of the evil god cult. Their deaths are a sacred act. They'll serve the evil god in the afterlife." That he pulled a three-bladed scythe from behind the throne. The blood-red scythe was longer than half a man. The three crescent blades got progressively smaller, and the handle ended in a retractable steel cable. "They are sacrifices to the evil god, and so are you and I." He hurled the scythe at Che. It spun wildly through the air, carrying serious momentum. The leader's chakra was at Jonin level, a whole different ballgame. Che stepped back, and the scythe slammed into the stone floor, burying itself deep. The leader yanked the steel cable, pulling the scythe free and sending chips of stone flying. He retracted the cable, grabbed the scythe, and charged, swinging it wildly with a grin. His attacks were so chaotic, it was hard to tell what he was even aiming for. Coupled with throwing his scythe, Che knew he was after his blood. He remembered the blood-based jutsu Baifu had mentioned, blood and jutsu. It was easy to think of the Kumo clan, one of the three royal families of jujitsu sorcerers in his past life. But he had a feeling this so-called jutsu wasn't the same thing. The Kumo family's red blood manipulation was about controlling your own blood, not relying on someone else's. Still, Che wanted to see it. After all, as a copy of Uchiha Che, the more he saw, the stronger he became. Just like he had with the Nara clan's shadow techniques. Silently, Che made the hand signs, revealing his Sharingan eyes. The genjutsu took hold. The leader, surprised, stopped, retreated from the hot spring, and licked the blade of his scythe. Then he used the blade to slash his arm, letting the blood drip to the ground, drawing a circle with a triangle inside. The leader forced Che back with a swipe of the scythe, and pulled a dark, sharp iron drill from his sleeve. "Evil god, I offer you 2 sacrifices, thud, star." The iron drill pierced his left chest, blood spurting onto his face. Satisfaction flickered across the leader's face, but then he realized something was wrong. "How is this possible? You're not dead." His life slipping away, he cried out in disbelief, then collapsed to his knees. Che walked up to him and said calmly, "You're not worth dying with." Confirming the leader was dead, he looked behind him. Hong had taken out the last 10 believers. Hong came to Che's side, glancing at the leader's body, which continued to bleed on the ground. "That should be all of them, right?" Che smiled and nodded, patting her shoulder. "Good job." Hong gave him a strange look. Che understood and stepped forward, giving her a hug. "I won't forget this either." Only then did Hong smile. Che walked to the leader's throne. His 6 senses told him something was off, that the secrets of the cult might be hidden here. He looked at the circle with a triangle on the wall behind it, then turned back and rotated the throne. With a click, the wall behind it started to separate, stones grinding against the floor. The pattern on the wall split in half, revealing a passage. Another cave. Che and Hong entered, Hong on guard, Che's expression grim. He'd already seen what was inside. They reached the deepest part of the cave, met by a strange, rotten stench. A statue stood in the center of the cave, with piles of corpses in front of it. They had all been hammered to death with iron spikes. 120 innocent people. This is the blood that the evil god cult has run up. Che's voice was heavy. Hong covered her mouth in shock. Che stepped over the corpses, finding a hidden compartment under the statue. Inside was a detailed ancient book, recording 2 spells, Death Si Ping Shui and Qi Si Chao Shui. Death Si Ping Shui was the one the leader tried to use. binding their fates by licking the enemy's blood and dying together within the magic circle. Qi Si Chao Shui used a puppet to control a person's blood. I thought it was Kamo's red blood manipulation, but this is more like cult soul conjuration. Along with the books, Che found records of human experiments. The evil god cult had been trying to create an immortal human body, perfect for using death. Si Ping Shui. Che burned the books to ash, saying, "Stop causing trouble in the world, evil god." Then he shattered the statue. He sensed a power dissipate. Maybe this was the source of the spells and the immortality experiments. This world is not so simple. At the same time, in a wealthy family's courtyard in the land of hot water, a boy with silver-gray hair and lavender eyes stood dazed under the moonlight. He was 2 or 3 years old and didn't look too bright. "Haydn, what are you doing out here so late?" Haydn's mother rushed out, worried. She scolded him for not sleeping. She worried about his weird temper and lack of intelligence. "Mom, I want to be a ninja," Haydn said suddenly. His mother agreed immediately. Okay, now go to bed." Haydn nodded. She watched him sleep, a complicated look on her face. "I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse for this child to become a ninja. Sometimes, destiny is changed without us knowing it."